What if I told you that a 39-kilometer stretch of ocean, barely wider than the English Channel at its narrowest point, holds the power to decide your grocery bill? What if this single waterway could determine the price of your fuel, the stability of your nation's budget, the performance of stock markets thousands of miles away? This is not a hypothetical scenario. It is the reality of the global economy, controlled by a critical maritime passage, the Strait of Hormuz. When this artery is threatened, the shock reaches every household. You cannot afford to ignore what happens next. Welcome to Global Economic Hub, the channel that decodes the world's most powerful economic forces for you, your community, and your nation. Every week, we provide the clarity and foresight you need to navigate global turbulence, identify opportunities, and build a more prosperous future. If you want to stay informed, empowered, and ahead, subscribe now and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming. The Strait of Hormuz is the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. It sits between the northern coast of Oman and the southern coast of Iran. The strait is approximately 167 kilometers long. At its narrowest navigable point, it's about 33 kilometers wide, creating an unavoidable bottleneck. In 2024, an average of 20 million barrels of oil passed through this channel every single day. That is 20% of global petroleum consumption, 1/5 of the fuel that powers our world, squeezed through one tiny choke point. Its history is a story of conflict. From its ancient Persian origins, named for a god of order, to 1622, when Shah Abbas captured Hormuz Island, control of this strait has always meant power. In 1951, a British naval blockade against Iran's oil nationalization led to a 1953 CIA coup. The age of oil had begun, and Hormuz was its epicenter. The 1980s tanker war saw 546 vessels attacked and 430 seafarers killed, proving the strait's vulnerability. 1973, 1979, 1990, every major oil crisis of the 20th century connects directly back to this waterway. In 2025, after U.S. strikes, Iran's parliament authorized a closure. On February 28, 2026, that threat became reality. The strait was effectively closed. But to truly understand the 2026 crisis, you must know what actually flows through Hormuz. It is so much more than just oil. Yes, 20% of global petroleum, but also 20% of the world's LNG trade, and a staggering 1/3 of all global fertilizer trade. This includes nearly half of global urea exports, 1/3 of the world's helium for semiconductors and MRI machines, and 10% of global aluminum. Add in petrochemicals for pharma and plastics, with 130 ships per day. And you realize this is not just oil. This is the supply chain of civilization itself. An incredible 93.6% of this crude oil comes from just 5 countries: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, Iran, and Kuwait. And Qatar, the world's largest LNG exporter, sends nearly all of it through the strait. And where does it all go? The top importers are China, India, South Korea, and Japan. In contrast, the USA receives only 2.5%. In total, Asia receives 89.2% of all Hormuz crude. For Japan, it's 95% of their entire supply. A closure is an economic weapon aimed directly at Asia. This brings us to the 2026 crisis. On February 28th, after Iran closed the strait, ship traffic dropped from 130 per day to just 6, a 95% collapse. Brent crude surged past $100 a barrel, with analysts warning of a prolonged scenario pushing prices toward $200. The IEA released the largest emergency reserves in its history. Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd suspended all Middle East routes. War risk insurance premiums skyrocketed up to 600%. Global trade growth projections were slashed. Fertilizer prices jumped 43%. U.S. stock markets entered a correction, falling more than 10% from recent highs. And for the 3.4 billion people in nations already spending more on debt than healthcare, the crisis meant rising costs for everything. This was not a regional conflict. This was a global economic emergency. But what about the bypass pipelines built for this exact scenario? Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline can carry 5 million barrels per day. The UAE's can carry 1.5 million. The problem? The total bypass capacity is less than 6 million barrels per day. The Strait carries 20 million. Over 14 million barrels per day simply cannot be rerouted. The Strait is genuinely irreplaceable. For viewers in developing and emerging economies, the chain reaction is brutal. Rising fuel leads to rising transport and food prices. This creates a household budget crisis, government fiscal pressure, and makes dollar-denominated debt more expensive. But this is where the pivot to empowerment begins. This is the moment to diversify energy sources and invest aggressively in renewables, to build strategic fuel reserves, to identify new trade opportunities created by these disruptions. Your agricultural and manufacturing sectors can fill the gaps left by conflict zones. Every global crisis creates both losers and nations that adapt and rise. The question is, which side will you be on? If this analysis provides value, subscribe now for our weekly economic strategies. Help us build a more informed community. Share this video with your community leaders, students, and entrepreneurs. And comment with your country and how this issue is affecting you. We will respond and cover your questions. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay informed, stay empowered, stay ahead. This is Global Economic Hub.